So I was just at the coffee shop, and I was going through my old Tumblr. Tumblr is where I started about 15 years ago, and fell into this kind of memory lane. You know, the great thing about social media is that if you document your story, you know, you have this digital yearbook. And I fell into this tunnel, and it made me think about my life. And the shit just scrolls forever, right? I mean, we're talking about 15 years of posting. Actually, no, not 15 years. I was on Tumblr for the first half. So posting, I don't know, 2-3 times a day for nearly a decade. And so as I'm scrolling, it's like a scrapbook. You know, you're seeing words that you've written, pictures that you've posted. You're seeing things that have happened to you, and you're just taken back very fast, right? It's like listening to a song or seeing a photograph of the past, right? Emotions attached to those things that you've written. It's like reviewing journal entries. That's what it feels like. And I was thinking, when I started my podcast many years ago, the goal was to just channel. If you listen to my podcast, I think I've mentioned this before. The goal was to just channel Harry Hardon. I believe that was his name, Harry Hardon. It wasn't. I was thinking Larry. It's not. It wasn't Larry Hardon. It was Harry Hardon. Henry? No, not Henry. It was Harry Hardon, and Harry Hardon was a character from a 90's film called Pump Up the Volume. It was kind of a underground movie starring Christian Slater, and I don't know. I don't think it did well, but it was about this kid, Christian Slater, who was kind of awkward, and in school he was an introvert. He kept his head down. Just kind of went, he was kind of invisible at school. But then when he got home, he would go into his basement, and he had this kind of old school radio, like a bootleg radio thing set up where he could broadcast. And so he would turn it on, and it's the 90's, so it's all clunky and shit. And he would just question things, question the world. And in his basement, he found his voice. In his basement, he was able to be in his solid self. And what was interesting about the movie is, in his basement, you could tell that he was closer to his potential, right? He was fearless. He was hiding behind the microphone, but he was truly him. And then on campus at school, he was Clark Kent, right? He was pushing the mail cart. And when I started my podcast, that's kind of how I saw it. I saw myself, and I related to that character a lot, because I think in person I'm a bit awkward. I'm an introvert, but then behind the computer or microphone, I feel more comfortable. I could really just be me. And I had this moment today at the coffee shop that I think at my life today at 50, and having this, instead of a basement, I'm doing it out of my garage. I finally feel like I have embodied that, like my version of that, right? And he didn't have this giant audience. He wasn't broadcasting to the world. It wasn't like scenes of people in bars and in different countries listening to him. It wasn't like that. It wasn't global. It was just his high school. It was just the people in his high school that found this underground channel, had access to it, and they would listen to him. So I feel like building a small community that it's local. It's like the thing that I know the internet is global, but I feel like my quote unquote show, my documentation, my content is it's local. You know, it's for the community that I try to serve. The other day, I did a Zoom for my book club, and 8 people, 10 people. I run retreats once a month ish, and we've had 33 people. We've had 12 people. And then my books go wider. So my books, I think Single on Purpose is approaching 100,000 copies sold. So there's a kind of a wider net with my books. And then my podcast, it's mid-sized. It does okay. But in my mind, I see what I do as like a local thing, And I don't know if it's not that I'm trying to not have a growth mindset. It makes me, by thinking that way, channel Harry Hardon. It makes me comfortable that this is just going out to my high school, not the world. Anyway, I came across a bunch of posts that I have written a long time ago, and I decided to email them to myself so I could read a few to you. And so it's like a tarot cards where someone gives you a reading, and you interpret it in the way that it relates to you, or doesn't, right? So speaking of high school, I'll read this piece. From high school on, we jump into things based on what we lack, warped definitions of love, and of course raw sexual chemistry. This pull usually leads us down a bumpy road of chaos and lots of reacting. But it's also what can make a relationship exciting. Jealousy, control, chasing, and trying to change someone can be a form of foreplay. Makeup sex is proof of that. Then enough of this roller coaster, and you decide to quote unquote grow up and have a healthy relationship. Finally make a decision to break patterns. But we're not used to healthy. Most of us don't know what healthy looks like. So now we're in something we believe is good for us, but it's also new for us. There's resistance and confusion. Can we be sexually attracted to someone who provides a safe space? Can our best friend also fulfill our wildest fantasies? Can we be intimate on a whole new level, the kind we've only heard on talk shows or read about in self-help books? Many jump ship or keep looking over the fence, then decide to go down the familiar again, confusing in lost for in love. This is the place where relapse and false beliefs live. Love slowly fades into an idea you once had. I think that still resonates with me today. And I think I wrote that like 10 years ago. So these are about different topics. Here's another one. I think because this whole thing started with me recovering from a divorce, a lot of the stuff that I talk about is love and relationships. But also, men's stuff, some fitness stuff, whatever I'm going through in my life, right? Many stray from something that could have been beautiful because they don't accept people for who they are. They try to control, change, position, invest in potential, and blame it on chemistry when it doesn't actualize. This mindset prevents lasting love. You will only experience short-lived honeymoons. If this becomes a pattern, you will become addicted to the fleeting, potent shot of love instead of the life-changing long stretch. No one is perfect. You must swim past the breakers to reach the island. This means you must find quote-unquote perfect in your partner instead of seeking a perfect partner, because there is no such thing. There's only perfect for you. Next one. Our thinking is biased, slanted, one-sided, a point of view that's tightly tied to our story and resistance, what prevents us from new experiences. And without new experiences, there is no shift, no stretch, no better you. When you choose to notice instead of think, you're able to see with more clarity. You yank emotions that can fog any situation, which will only cause reactions. Stop thinking, start noticing. Next one. Surrender. Surrender doesn't mean to give up. Surrender doesn't mean to let go. To accept, to not control, not force. Surrender means patience, flow, giving. To surrender means to breathe. To surrender means to be power-filled. Giving up means powerless. Surrendering requires courage. Giving up is driven by fear. I feel that when I surrender, good things happen. Things that were meant to happen when they were meant to, which I don't see until I surrender. But I know they were meant to because it always feels natural and organic. Even if it's turbulence, there are lessons in that storm that will give me tools to build. Life causes us to force ourselves into things, people, or blueprints and walls. When we surrender, we feel like we're giving up. But it's surrendering that allows us to adjust and start running toward ourselves instead of away. Surrendering allows our internal compass to point us in the right direction. Some things I am working on surrendering. If or when my second book will sell. Holy shit, that's how long ago was this? Or when I will find love. Obviously I was single when I wrote this. Other people's opinion of me. Ego. Old. I think I wrote this when I was trying to sell I Used to Be a Miserable Fuck. It's my second book. Other people's opinions of me. Ego. Old ideas of success. Definitions of happy. Anything superficial or meaningless. Negativity. Unhealthy thought patterns. To all possibilities. What do you need to surrender so that you can pivot and move toward the true you, where your potential lives? All right, I have one more. This one's kind of short. I was the kid who would stare out the classroom window wondering what it would feel like to fly. I never studied. I lived in fantasy, created imaginary worlds, used to lock myself in my room and build shit with Legos for hours and hours on end, forgetting time, forgetting to eat, created roller coasters in my backyard with my skateboard. Imagined I had superpowers. I think as we grow older, we stop dreaming. We only see what's in front of us, a linear life. We go from curious to judgment, and our world becomes very small. I think it's important to dream, especially when you're awake. All right, signing off, Korean Harry Hardon. Thank you for listening. Be well.